I did everything right and they indicted me.
And I don't know what the I'm doing. Antifa!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a historic edition of the Katie Halper Show. Not because of anything we are doing, but because of stuff that's happening in the world. I'm so excited to be here with you guys, and I'm so excited to be here with a bunch of amazing guests. We have someone who's making her Katie Halper Show debut. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to have her on for a while. And that is Samira Mohyeddin, who is a journalist, an award-winning journalist. She was at the BBC for a bunch of years. Then she resigned and she started her own program called On the Line Media, which you have to subscribe to. You got to subscribe to that YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, you know, so many interesting things to say about Samira, but I will say that in addition to completing genocide studies at the Zarian Institute and having a postgraduate journalism degree from Centennial College's Story Art Center, she also has a Master of Arts in Modern Middle East History. That's also cool, from Toronto, but she is also a trained Shakespearean actor and graduate of the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City. So she truly is a Renaissance woman. She's based in Canada. Her family is from Iran, and we're going to be talking to her about so many things, ranging from Iran to media bias, which is something that she covers in an excellent way at On the Line. Speaking of subscribing, please do subscribe as well to this channel, to the Katie Halper Show. You definitely want to do that because we have been doing these extra streams. We stream with people who are based in Iran or people who are based in Western Asia, aka the Middle East. We stream with people all over the world. And so we don't always know in advance when that's going to happen. So the way that you can make sure you do know about it is by subscribing. So you hit subscribe and then the bell. Also, like the stream whenever you watch this, whenever you're seeing this, whether you're watching live or later on, like the stream. And please do become Patreon supporters at patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. This week's Patreon is amazing. It is an interview I did with Kneecap, the Irish musical group who rap in Irish, the language, as in Gaelic, as in Irish. They call it Irish, though, because they're different Gaelics. And I was in Cuba with them. So the interview was done in Cuba. It's great. And so you'll get that early at Patreon, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. After I speak to Samira, I'll be speaking to legendary political scientist Norman Finkelstein. After I speak to Norman Finkelstein, I will speak to ex-military veteran. No, I will speak to anti-war military veterans Greg Stoker and Anthony Aguilar. Anthony Aguilar, you may know as being the whistleblower who exposed what was happening at the Gaza Hunger Foundation, aka the Gaza Holocaust Foundation. That's what Aaron Mate called it, very appropriately, where they lured people to their death by promising them food in an act that was pretty reminiscent of what the Nazis did with concentration camps, getting them to board the trains, etc. Okay, so stick around for this whole show. It's really going to be great. And again, like, subscribe, and join the Patreon, patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. If you can't swing the $5 a month, which is the level that gives you bonus content, then please just make the show happen by supporting the show at $1 a month. That's $12 a year. Okay, so we are going to bring on Samira. Samira, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
How is anyone right now? What is it? Time is it? We are 50 minutes away from Armageddon, Iran style.
Well, actually, Samira, I told you not to check right before because I was like, did you hear what Trump said? And you said, no, not yet. And so we are going to show you what Trump said recently. Nate, what time was it that he said this? This was as of what time? Right before.
You're killing me.
This is breaking news. Let us play this breaking news from Donald Trump. Brad, you're muted.
Sorry about that, Katie.
Okay.
Just need about 30 seconds to pull up the latest.
Okay, yeah.
And then
So
we will.
we
It
do.
is-
You're going to give me a little hint?
It is
Wait.
not something to.
Oh, I said BBC, but sorry, CBC for
Yeah,
Samira.
CBC, Canadian
sorry about that,
Broadcasting
Canadian
Corporation.
Broadcasting. I actually knew that too. I did.
Canadian version of the BBC, just
Right.
funding.
I think also had BBC on the mind because there's a little BBC scandal, which we'll talk about shortly.
It's
Brad,
okay. Unless there is something else, it's not something to play. It's more just something for you to read.
Okay, let me make sure that I have. Yeah, this is okay. So we have a statement. Let me see it. I want to make sure I have the latest thing. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's something to read. Yeah, it's something to read. And this was released at 6:32 Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So Jeremy Scahill tweeted, Trump announces 2-week ceasefire with Iran and says, we received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field, do you want to read this actually, Samira?
Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested, as if Donald Trump would say wherein.
I know.
And wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran, agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. Sexy. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the country's capital of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term capital problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Brilliant. Now, are they going to give Israel the message not to bomb Iran too?
Right.
Or?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. So Samira, what are your thoughts on this? I mean,
I'm actually elated. There were so many messages coming out of Iran today from friends of mine who are using very expensive VPNs, and they were so fucking afraid of this, because the bombs are still happening. I mean, that's one of the things that's really crazy. It's such a misnomer to think, oh, there were no bombing of civilian infrastructure up to this point. But the fact that the lights will stay on and the water plants and all of that will keep flowing, I'm very happy. Very happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not a military analyst, and I'm not. That's not why I invited you on. That would be.
Although
weird.
I wore some fatigues for you.
Yeah, you do, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah. You give military analyst vibes or military vibes. But what are your thoughts on how we got here? What do you think is influencing Trump to make this decision? I mean, obviously, for people who don't know, he was threatening to. He had a countdown clock and 8 p.m. I was actually struggling. I was like, what do I do about the show? Is everyone going to want to know what's going to happen? How are we going to have the show? Everyone's going to be paying attention. So not only am I glad there's a ceasefire for the sake of the world, but it's good for the Katie Halper show.
Cheers. Yeah.
So what are you surprised by this outcome? To what do you attribute it?
I think that, Trump, he may be a bit of a moron and a little maniacal in his statements, but I think that there are people around him still, maybe some of these generals and others, who are telling him that it is not a good idea to bomb power plants. And I think he listened. I don't know what's in that 10-point plan that Iran sent. I have no idea. And, the Straits of Hormuz were open to people. They were open to people who weren't bombing Iran.
Right.
And I don't know, what this plan is. So it's hard to comment on it. However, I was really hoping that something like this would happen. And it's interesting that Pakistan is the one to have brokered this also, not the usual Oman or other countries. So I'm really glad. But as to far, your question about how we got here, I think is so multi-pronged, because it depends on how far back you want to go. I mean, we can go back to
1953.
June 2025 when, Iran first started being bombed. And the reason I say that, what's interesting is because for the Iranians, they always call this the 13th day. There was the 12-day war, and they
Right.
refer to this entire period as the 13th
Right.
day. So it really depends how far back you want to go. I mean, the U.S. administration has gone all the way back to 1979 when it counts, the hostages that were taken, and the embassy and the 52 hostages and all that. So they bring up the 1982 barracks bombing. I mean, they just have this long list. Of course, they don't consider the fact that America bombed a passenger plane on July 3rd, 1989, killing 289 Iranians over their own waters. None of that is taken into consideration. So it really, I'm elated right now. And you can tell, I think, from just me, but I'm very happy for my friends and family who are inside the country.
Yeah. Tell us about your friends and family inside the country. And I'm very happy. I mean, I made a joke about how it's good for the Katie Halper show programming, but obviously I am very relieved. And, let's actually, before I ask you about your friends and family, I want to make sure everyone's caught up. So I want to show what Donald Trump had tweeted earlier and the reason that everyone was so anxious, even more than usual. Okay. So April 7th at 8 a.m. he true socialed. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? All caps. We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran.
Is that a word? Revolutionarily?
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
is it a word though?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
See.
I don't think it is. Revolutionarily. That is not a word.
No.
Susan Abu-Hawa today,
revolutionarily wonderful. It's pretty good.
Tweeted. She posted on X today how a fifth grade comprehension. A man who has a fifth grade comprehension is going to be bombing a 12,000-year-old civilization. Yeah. Even as you read that again, Katie, it sent shivers down my spine. I swear it really did. Because everything about this war is illegal from the start to the auspices under which it was launched. It's disgusting what is happening to 90 million people, and for whom it's vile.
And so tell us about your friends and family in Iran, and tell us what they're saying, and also tell us about your own trajectory and your family's trajectory, and what brought you to Canada.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were 27 and 30 when the Iranian Revolution happened in 1979. We left the country May 4th, 1979. I was 4 years old. My sister was 8. And we moved to Canada. Now, my mom, at that young age, was already protesting in the streets against the revolution. My mother and father were very much against what was coming. I grew up in a very secular household, a very progressive household, and my mom was very aware, and it was very obvious that the country was heading towards a theocracy, and she had no desire to live under such a system of governance. So we left very early on. My mother never went back. I went back to visit in 1999. This was during the time of Khatami. There was a little bit of opening up of the country. Right. And I went back there. I landed in Iran on my 25th birthday in 1999. And I was there about a month and a half. And it was really wild. It was, nothing like I had ever experienced in my life. You really felt the weight of, for someone who grew up in the West, the weight of fascism. And during that time was not like today. It was very different, like men would walk around in the streets, tell you to cover your hair. Right. I wasn't able to ride a bike. I couldn't go swimming in the sea. a lot of that has changed right now. The Iran you see today is not the Iran of 1999. So, but when I was there, things were very different, and it left a really bad taste in my mouth,
Mhm. Right.
as someone who was 25 and was like, I want to go back home,
Right.
see what it's like. If I went back today, I'm sure I wouldn't have that experience, but I'm a bit too paranoid to try and go back right now.
And what are your friends and family there telling you? What are they saying? What are they reporting from the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which friend I'm speaking to.
Right.
So, some of my friends who are very wealthy are not in Tehran anymore. They have actually, they have dual passports, so they've left the country. Others have stayed, but they have villas, so they are, north of Tehran and just waiting this out, basically. But my uncle, who was in Esfahan, I haven't been able to have contact with him. I'm very worried for him and his family, my cousins. And so it's really a mixed bag. And I think it's a good reflection of what's happening inside the country. One of the images that has really stayed with me today was of a virtuoso in our country who plays the tar. It's a sort of guitar-like instrument. He went in front of the Damavand power plant. This is one of Iran's largest power plants. And he's been sitting there for the past 2 days playing his instrument and saying he refuses to leave. Now, if you watched Western media today, they would tell you that this guy was forced to be there, that he's a, human shield or whatever the hell they were saying. But a lot of Iranians, out of their own will and volition, have gone and formed human chains around their civilian infrastructures. People don't really understand the mindset of the Iranian people right now. They are not someone to be fucked with, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned that Isfahan, and that is the center of the Jewish center, right, of Iran. Yep. And there was, of course, a synagogue there that was destroyed. And for some reason, all these people who talk about Jewish safety, all these Israel defenders who accuse people like you of being an anti-Semite, people like me of being a self-loathing Jew, I haven't heard them lament this bombing.
Not a word even in Western media. Normally this would be made a huge thing out of, and rightly so. But the fact that, the leader of Iran's Jewish community went outside this structure that was bombed, I believe it's called the Rafi Nia synagogue, which is 80 years old, and stood there and said, this is a stain on our community. And, right in the middle of our celebrations. And he was holding a Torah that was totally torn to shreds. And he also said that the scrolls that they use in that synagogue are underneath the rubble. What people don't understand about Iran's Jewish community is that they see themselves as Iranians, not as, something outside the polity of the country. They are embedded and are a part of the fabric of that country and have been for thousands of years.
Right. Yeah, which obviously people don't want to say that because that belies the claim that Israel is needed to keep Jews safe, and all the people in these areas hated the Jews and made them leave. And obviously people can look at some really interesting historiography / the memoir of Avi Shleim, who writes a fascinating account of this, where we've mentioned this on the show before, but Zionists basically bombed areas in, you getting the book? There you go. 3 worlds. There it is. And Zionists bombed areas in Baghdad to scare the Jews into leaving. They also did this in Egypt. But we actually have a bunch of the things that you mentioned, and really major thanks to Brad and Nate, because this show is pretty dynamic, obviously, because a lot of the stuff is breaking news. But this thing that we're about to show you is, I believe, Brad, here, I'm going to bring you onto the show because you and Samira are close friends anyway, as of like half an hour ago. What'd you say?
I said BB, a good BB, not
the good one. Yeah.
Oh, right, BB, Brad Bloom.
Not the BB we hate, not this BB.
Is that a sticker?
No, it has no sticky. It's just
a photo.
It's a photo.
Yeah.
You have many cool things behind you.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a tour shortly. So Brad, what do we got? Do we have the
Do you
musician
want to see the
Samira reference?
tweets, or do you want to see the
What are our
video
options?
clip?
Sorry.
We have the latest. Well, if you want to see what Samira was just referencing regarding the musician.
Oh
we
yeah,
can
let's
start
do
with
that. And then we have Susan's tweet. Is that what else we have? I just wanted the options.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So here's, and then we can share the
Okay,
video
this
of,
morning Trump, I'm going to read the tweet. Code Pink tweeted, this morning Trump threatened to destroy a whole civilization in Iran, but Iranians aren't afraid. Across the country, women, men, and children are occupying bridges and power plants to protect them from U.S. attacks. Okay, let's take a look. And this includes the musician who you just referred to.
Sorry, Katie, I don't want us to get copyright struck.
Oh, yes, very smart.
Okay, yeah. That's really incredible, though.
Iranians occupy bridges and power plants in the face of Trump's genocidal threats.
Yeah, and he's in front of a power plant, it looks like.
Yeah, that's
right?
the Damavand power plant, one of Iran's largest power plants.
So the top image is the White Bridge. Then you have Desful Bridge, and then
Desful Bridge. This is a bridge that's 2,500 years old. It is the world's oldest bridge.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, but if you watched Western media, you'd think that these people were all forced to be there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's children there, that, you know, human shields, etc. I mean, it's just absurd. The level of dehumanization and the sad, pathetic way they're trying to manufacture consent for waging this war on a daily basis.
And speaking of which, I know that right now it's not necessarily the most current, but Katie, we have A2, that video clip. I don't know if you'd like to play that.
Oh,
but,
yes. Is this the one of Israel? Israeli media? No, which one is this?
No, this is Trump saying something crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's
Let's just listen to him say this.
Iranian people, when they don't hear bombs go off, they're upset. They want to hear bombs because they want to be free. And the only reason they're not out protesting, you know that, is because they were informed that if they protest, like the wrestler and his friends, if they protest, they will be shot immediately. And that's an edict. That's in writing.
So I don't.
That was Monday at the White House. Yeah.
And Samira, I just had a question. Like, number one, I can't recall the specifics off the top of my head, but I believe at some point recently it had come out that the U.S. actually supplied the weapons.
Oh, he bragged about that.
Yes,
yeah.
he said that he after the January 8th and 9th protests, they supplied the Kurds with arms, which were supposed to go to protesters, and he was complaining that the Kurds kept the guns. They didn't pass them out. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And then this what he's saying here about they want the bombs to drop. Like, if I stop bombing, they will say, please come back and keep bombing. I don't know if you can speak to this, but I'm just in my head. Like, what did they find like one Israeli or something to provide that quote, and he's painting it as the whole of Iran?
Look, unfortunately, I don't know who's advising President Trump, but there are people, and I rail against them on a daily basis. There are people in our community who want this war, who have been pushing for this war. And who honestly do believe that this will help the country. There's no doubt about that. Those people exist in our community, and they also exist not just in the diaspora. They're also inside the country, and you know, it's not just that they feel this way on their own. There has been an immense amount of propaganda from these satellite channels, from IDF in Persian, Israel in Persian, who for more than a decade have been promulgating this type of rhetoric at Iranians, meaning we're the only country that cares about you, you know, we are here to help you, etc. And look, for people who do want to see change, I think they're grasping at this rhetoric coming at them. Yes, it's juvenile. Yes, it's a simple way of thinking, but they exist. they really do exist.
But
There's
to your
no
point,
denying
the
that.
video, the video that we just watched, as you very correctly pointed out, shows to me, if you were an American and only listening to what the president or whomever was saying, that's the picture you would paint. And now you're showing us video here of countless Iranians that clearly do not feel like, yes, please come bomb us.
Of course. I mean, Iran is a country of 90 million people. Anybody who could sit here and tell you Iranians think this or think that is full of shit. I mean, even if they have, what some say 20% or 25% of the people support them, that's still like 30 million people. That's a lot of people, and they are people that are willing to stand up and say, even the people, this is important to point out, Brad and Katie, that there are people who even don't like this system of governance who are now standing and saying, not on my land. You're not going to do this to us. Not in my name are you going to do this.
Right. Like, I don't like the
way
US
to
system
build
of government, but do I want somebody to bomb 180 school children or something in
Exactly.
the process? Like, of course not.
Right. Yeah, it is a great way to build unity and around a government that you claim that you want to regime change, and that they do want to regime change, of course. But so just so people, in case anyone missed the framing of that clip, what he said, Trump, was the Iranian people, when they don't hear bombs go up, they're upset. They want to hear bombs because they want to be free. I guess freed from their life, like literally freed from being alive, right?
The ultimate freedom. Death.
Yes, exactly. Well, you heard about when Matt Schlapp, this guy who's been accused of sexual assault by multiple young men, he's involved in CPAC, conservative PAC. He said that when people lamented that girls and women had been killed, especially girls at
God,
school,
that fucker with the burqa.
Yeah, he said, well, it's hypocritical to talk about women and girls because these are girls and women who are forced to wear burqas and were living in a barbaric society and have limited career choices.
I mean, I can't even listen. Iran is has one of the top STEM graduates for women in the world. The only woman to ever win the Fields Medal, which is like the Nobel of Math, is an Iranian woman, Maryam Mirzakhani. And the United States of Israel bombed that exact university yesterday that she graduated
like the
from.
MIT of Iran, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely despicable.
So the audacity to make such ludicrous statements, it's just fucked. We're living in the ultimate gaslight right now.
Yeah, it's every accusation is a confession. Everything is an inversion. I want to show another some more.
So Katie, I'll excuse myself, but we have the other two tweets. You can let me know when you want to show them.
Which ones are those? I wanted to actually.
That would be Susan and Trita.
Okay, so yeah, and then we'll go back to the actually no, let's do these first, and then do you have the BBC thing that up, or is that not prepped yet because of the way things are going? No worries.
BBC thing.
Sorry, that would be A03, A032, A033.
I believe so. I will just get off screen, and if you could give me like 30 seconds.
Sure. Great.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating. And Nate also, and Brad, we have that clip that we should show of that woman making an interesting statement on the Trigonometry podcast. These people are very racist, Zionist, and the fact that she kind of shocks even them is quite telling. But, it is fascinating that, as you were just referring to, Samira, people, regardless of their politics, I mean, it's fascinating, but it's also human. Like, it's so obvious, right? Like, why would anyone want to be bombed, regardless of their thoughts on the government?
Anybody who even, isn't a half-wit and who understands any type of social movement knew that any outside foreign intervention into Iran would have a rallying around the flag effect. Anybody would have understood that, but they don't care. They don't care about this stuff. This administration is wholly delusional and lives in a fantasy world. It's so dangerous, and that's why I was look when you just mentioned that there's sort of calling this down, I was elated because I actually did think that they were going to go ahead and bomb these power plants, because we've watched images of petrochemical plants being bombed, oil depots, oil refineries, creating these apocalyptic scenes in Iran. And so I really, you have no idea right now what's happening in the pit of my stomach. I'm still
High, kind of.
high from that news.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think I reach out to my friends who have family and friends in Iran. I try to do that every couple of days, just because, you know, it's something that obviously, I mean, you know, that picture of that boy who was 8 years old that went kind of viral, who was waving goodbye to his family, that was just so heartbreaking. And then there are videos of him. But, you know, Iranians, Palestinians, all of our adversaries, right? They're just so dehumanized. Although, you know, more and more people who are watching, it's impossible to fall for it unless you have.
Well, even that clip that Bradley just played today, during that, you know, when the band was playing, and I think it was the Easter event or whatever, he justified bombing the country, but he turned around and said they're animals.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's that people don't seem to understand that everything we allowed in Gaza is coming back. Everything from the dehumanization to the bombing of universities to the bombing of infrastructure. We allowed that in Gaza. And now we're seeing it play out in Lebanon, in Iran. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Yeah, it really is disgusting. So speaking of myths and propaganda, let's take a look at something that happened at the BBC. So I wish it was only Trump who was claiming that Iranians wanted to be bombed. But on Monday, the BBC posted an article quoting an anonymized Iranian they supposedly talked to. So let's see the first photo, Brad. Okay. I'm just going to read some of the highlighted sections. Radin, also in his 20s and living in Tehran, said about them hitting energy infrastructure using an atomic bomb or leveling Iran. My honest reaction is that I'm okay with all of those. Radin, also in his 20s and living in Tehran, said, if attacking the targets in the country brings down the Islamic Republic, I'm fine with that. And then here's an update. This article originally included a longer quote from Radin in which he spoke about the attacks on Iranian energy infrastructure and referred to the levels of destruction which he suggested would be personally acceptable to him to bring down the Islamic Republic. Radin's comments were made directly to the BBC and were initially included in full to illustrate the strength of feeling of some of those who are opposed to the country's leadership. However, after further review, this part of the quote was removed from the article due to concerns over the way in which the speaker expressed his views and the extent to which they reflected wider Iranian viewpoints. So what happens is the corrections happened the day after it was originally written. So that was kind of an insane story. The edits were. And
what does that mean, the way he expressed his views? Like, he didn't actually say this? I don't, what does that mean, that sentence? The way he expressed himself? Did he do it through Morse code or...
Yeah, I know that is absolutely bizarre.
And you know, if they say there's such wide, you know, internet blackout, how is the BBC talking to all of these people constantly?
Oh yeah, that's another good point. So it's really quite striking. And the Gray Zone actually wrote an article about this. Let's take a look at this. Okay.
Senior BBC Iran reporter exposed as opposition activist.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And let's take a look at the I believe we have a tweet next.
We have the Wyatt Reed, unless you wanted to look further into the
the Wyatt Reed, please. Yeah, the Wyatt Reed,
Okie dokie.
Thank you. Okay, so Wyatt Reed tweets, wondering why media coverage of Iran is so one-sided. Here's BBC Persia's senior reporter admitting she only speaks with Iranians who are, quote, against the current establishment, end quote. They communicate via Starlink, hundreds of which were smuggled into Iran by a CIA cutout called NED, National Endowment for Democracy. How some Iranians reacted to U.S. jet downing. And this is Gonche Habibzadeh. I've been asking some of my contacts inside Iran what they think about the U.S. jet downing. All those I talk to are against the current establishment. Okay. And then she says, it's still very difficult to contact people inside Iran because of the ongoing internet blackout, but some have managed to connect using satellite.
I reckon.
Internet. Yeah.
Says
yeah.
reckon.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I reckon. Get in the water.
Yeah. This is I mean, this media bias is quite fascinating, and we see it all the time. I mean, all the people who go on CNN are these cheerleaders, all the people who Piers Morgan has on. Has Piers Morgan had you on? He should.
No.
Piers, have Samira on. I'll recommend you. Yeah, you should go on, yeah.
I doubt it. I'd love to be in conversation with some of those women Piers Morgan has as representatives of Iran. I mean, these women. Oof.
Yeah. Well, we actually have one of our faves. Sorry guys, this is a less what's the word? A looser show than usual because we are reacting to so many breaking news things. So let's take a look at Elika.
Oh God.
Elika Laban, who is the daughter of Iran. That's how she describes herself. Daughter of Iran, attorney, speaker, author to be.
Attorney, speaker, author, activist.
I know. Yes, I Brad, that's totally fine. This is her appearing on the Trigonometry podcast.
Well, but that's you laugh, but that is how they think.
Yeah, I know that's how they think. It's still funny.
Because when they look at the Middle East, they don't know that it wasn't all Muslim before.
Yeah, no, they don't understand that.
So they don't understand that Muslims colonized all of
we
that
were
land.
Zoroastrians, so we were colonized by
fuck's sake.
Islamism.
Right.
Yeah.
So why can't we say that this war is fighting a colonial empire?
Because the
Oh my
Ayatollah's brown.
God.
Yeah. And they've got
That's literally what it
He's
is.
Jewish. He's actually Jewish.
Is he?
well,
No, but we should stop the rumor.
No, but we can
They
stop
say
that
when he
rumor.
decides to
Now
get
that's
bombed.
quite a
That's
conspiracy.
why I say we should say he's Jewish.
I think he might have a
Or
few,
white.
or white. I think he
Yeah.
might have a few issues.
I think
he'd
we
have
could,
more
I think
issues
we
with the
could make
Jewish than the
ourselves
white.
white. I think we could make an argument for that.
And it's also there's the America is the evil empire. As a result of them being the evil empire, everybody else is oppressed.
Nothing nothing about it ever makes sense. You talk about Hezbollah, you talk about the Houthis, you talk about the regime. You're like, yeah, they're fighting oppression, but they are committing more oppression than anybody else.
Yeah, but they're doing it for good, Alec.
They're doing oppression in their own lands for good.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, because to suppress the Mossad agents.
because they're brown
Right.
Yeah.
and oppressed by evil Israel.
It's good we're agreeing finally.
Yeah, finally. All of the debate is over.
I think the
We've solved
logic is
it.
airtight.
Yeah,
It's
it
airtight
checks out.
logic.
It
They
checks
win.
out.
I think we have to go forward as leftists because we clearly see that is the superior
All right.
worldview.
Well,
I'm gonna be honest
fine.
with you, I
I'm
don't
gay
think we'd
and
be-
trans. We've done it.
I don't
I've
think
gone
we'd be
trans.
accepted.
What do you
into-
mean? I self-identify as a woman.
You self-identify?
Yes, I think it's a good
God.
note to end the
Now
episode on.
devolving into
Elika, what's the
trans
one thing we're
crap.
not talking about that we should be?
Oh my gosh.
Don't say Iran.
Ideological subversion.
Like they seem to be saying some really ugly things, but like if you're saying it tongue in cheek, then it's okay. or
She's
something?
she's the captain of word salad. She's such a jargonist, and she is the emblem of the rise of the confident dumb.
Yes,
Nothing
yes.
this woman says, honestly, nothing she says makes any sense.
But
And
like
if
you
you-
just said, if you say it a certain way, like confidently,
That's
Yeah.
enough for people.
Yeah.
If you break down what is actually coming out of her mouth, none of it makes sense. And it's so historically inaccurate also. But she's dealing with people most of the time that don't know better than her.
you're muted.
Sorry
Katie.
about that. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, she appears on Piers Morgan all the time. So we are going to get you on Piers Morgan.
I'd love
Baron.
to debate Elika Laban, which is
Yes.
not her last name. That is a fake last name.
Right.
Her last name is Mojtahid Zadeh.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't think Alban was
that is
a
her
real
last
name.
name. And she tries to hide her last name. She
Right.
pretends that her family fled the country. However, her father, for years, was a professor at one of the most staunchly right-wing and like conservative universities in Iran. He wrote op-ed pieces about why Iran should have nuclear capabilities in the New York Times. Her father's name is Piruz Mojtahedzadeh. I've done a deep dive on Elika. She is nothing but an ambulance chaser, graduate of Pepperdine University.
Oh,
She is a dimwit at best.
right. Yeah, and you really get a lot of hate from people like her, from monarchists. Can you just you get it from both directions? I mean, you get it from, well, it's not both directions. They're very adjacent. So you get it from monarchists and you get it from Zionists. And a lot of these monarchists are Zionists. So talk about some of the hate that you've encountered for speaking out.
I get my addresses doxxed online. I've had people send me death threats, rape threats. For some reason, all of it is really sexual and gender based. These are the freedom fighters. These are the people who want to save women.
Right.
And for some reason, all they do is attack women, mostly women of color, and so, yeah, that's, it's almost, what pisses me off as a journalist is that we're just supposed to take this as if it's part of the job,
Right.
and, I've been at this for a very long time. So I mainly just brush it off and laugh because some of it is such a parody of itself. It's such a cliche. Like they will accuse you of taking money from the IRGC,
Right.
which is one of their biggest.
Definitely going to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Things
one
get
of their
hired.
biggest, most ridiculous things. And my response always, they always ask, how much are you getting paid? And I always say, not enough.
Right.
Not enough. And so it's just stupidity.
Yeah.
It's a way of shutting someone up. And it just reminds me that my voice has an impact.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or I love when people write like you're an irrelevant joke or something on Twitter. I'm like, well, then why are you responding to what I'm writing? Yeah,
And yet here you are.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Wanted to show you, let's see, the Susan Abu Hawa tweet that you referred
yeah.
to. I think that's great and speaks to a lot of the points that you're making about Iran not wanting to be effed with. So Susan Abu Hawa quote tweeted Trump's insane tweet and said, as you referred to earlier on the show, a megalomaniac pedophile with a 5th grade reading comprehension, surrounded by a rapist drunk and traitors working to further a Jewish supremacist wet dream, want to wipe out a 12,000-year-old civilization. The entire world order is wrong. This is the logical consequence of a system that allows the world's greatest parasites to commit a genocide for the world to witness in high definition without moving a finger.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a Christian Zionist wet dream too. It's a joint wet dream. And
yeah, that's the other thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but people don't talk about the evangelical elephant in the room enough. And it has a lot to do not just with, people like Franklin Graham, who yesterday stood in the, White House during the Easter ceremony and said, and I quote, Iranians want to kill all the Jews. Thank you, God, for anointing Trump. I'm not sure if you saw this. Then he invoked Esther and Purim and all this other stuff. Again, on a daily basis, we're being dehumanized and, consent is being manufactured for this war. But it's also that there is a huge community of evangelicals, missionaries, some guy named Dawkins, Ronnie Dawkins or something, who are just jizzing to get into Iran, right, and do their missionary work. And really, there's also a lot of Iranians who are basically substituting one form of theocracy for another, and it's wild. Right. It's wild.
Yeah, and the projection is insane because Marco Rubio talks about how they're theocrats and the mullahs, the radical clerics. Meanwhile, you have like Pete Hegseth with his Crusades tattoos. You have people calling the military to complain that high up commanders are telling them that Trump was anointed by Jesus. You have people who are talking about how this is going to be great for Armageddon. It's extremely, extremely scary.
Yeah, all the messianics have come to the front and they're like, let's go. I mean, they're dragging us into Armageddon because everyone is waiting for somebody to come back from somewhere.
Right. Yeah, it is very scary. And of course it's amazing because they're so obviously using each other because, one second. I'm just writing something about our next guest. Okay. They're so obviously using each other because the Christians want the Jews to, quote unquote, go back. I put that in big quotes, air quotes, to Israel, where they will be, most of us will burn for eternal
They'll
damnation.
burn in hell if you don't.
Yeah, burn in hell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the religious Jews or the secular Jews, they think that's insane. That's not going to happen, right? So like both sides are happy to work with each other because they don't take each other's theology or ideology that seriously. They just, what they do think is that, furthering bloodshed is good. That's what they have in common. And they dehumanize, Palestinians and Iranian people, and also really distort, I would say. I mean, this is a whole other question, but I don't really think if they ask themselves, what would Jesus do? This is what would happen. Yeah. And
I mean, I have is it here? I have my Bible here, and I have my Bible here, and I'm constantly going to it because there are so many references to what is happening right now. And the Messianics are constantly bringing up Jeremiah and this. There's a whole there's an area in Iran called Elam. And they think that there's an area called Susa, Shush, and all the Jewish Messianics are referring to this area and saying, this is the area that we need to bomb, and that is going to bring the Mashiach back.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of shit going on, and this is something that people just overlook, this biblical stuff. And they shouldn't, because these people are serious. They want to drag us into World War III and just do away with everything so that whoever they're rooting for can come back and save them.
Yeah, it's really disgusting. Anything else that you want to mention? And we have to have you on again when there isn't all this breaking news. Do you want to see what by the way, the Iran's plan is? That they
yes, okay. I do. 10-point
plan. Trita Parsi tweeted this out.
The most important sentence in Trump's ceasefire post is the ensuing negotiations will be based on the Iranian 10-point proposal and not the 15 points. These are the key aspects: permanent end to hostilities, a lasting peace agreement rather than a temporary ceasefire, security guarantees. Oh, lifting sanctions. That's amazing. That would be amazing. That would be, this would be wild if it happens. And I just don't think Israel will allow this. I just don't think Israel will allow it. That's what scares me the most, because Israel just continues bombing. I mean, they bombed a fucking synagogue today.
Right.
And they even admitted to it. They admitted to it and said, sorry, collateral damage.
Right.
So this will continue on Israel's side, unfortunately.
Let's get through the rest of it, and then we'll, so lifting sanctions, which got you teary-eyed, understandably. Yeah. You want to keep going?
Yeah. Strait of Hormuz reopening. Iran would reopen the vital energy route, but charge a $2 million fee per vessel. Regional security, end to Israeli strikes in Lebanon. See? We're thinking about others all the time. Reconstruction funding, revenue from the strait to be used for rebuilding infrastructure rather than direct reparations. Yeah, somebody's got to pay for this fucking shit that they did.
Yeah.
Like somebody has to pay. This is amazing if it happens.
Yeah.
I'll pray on the Bible I just put away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and Samira, it seems to me too, looking at this, one of the things that the U.S. and Israel's illegal attack on Iran has accomplished seems to me fundamentally shifting the world structure here, that after this, either Iran is going to be charging fees to access the Strait of Hormuz, or they're going to be getting direct reparations for reconstruction.
Look, I think the biggest thing is that Iran has shown that it's not to be messed with. That you can bomb whatever infrastructure you like, but at the end of the day, we are not to be fucked with. And it doesn't matter.
And that the U.S. military is not the unbeatable, undefeatable, that in a large degree, at least in the age of Trump, is a paper tiger of sorts.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, that people on the ground who were trying to affect change in the country can be left alone to do so. Iran is building its civil society and it is making change on its own time and with its own way. And just leave us alone.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
That's incredible. We have a statement from the Iranian government. It's very long though, but I'll read it with our next guest. Unless you want to, maybe you guys can overlap for a little bit, because I think it would be cool to have your feedback as well. Should Norman give me a thumbs up? How about I would love to have you on with Samira together, and we look at the response from the Iranian government. Okay. Hold on. Oh, hello.
Okay, now I see you.
Okay. So this is Samira Moyedin and Norman Finkelstein, two brilliant minds. And I thought it would be a great idea, as of like 30 seconds ago when I got the tweet from someone, to have you both on while we read a statement from the Iranian government. Because, Norman, we're kind of piecing this together because in real time, because obviously Trump had tweeted his change of plans. He was going to do this major regime change bombing blitz, and then he decided to do a 2-week ceasefire. So I thought we could read, this is an official statement from the Iranian government. It's long, but we can read parts of it that stand out. Okay, so let's see. Statement by Iran's Supreme National Security Council on the 2-week ceasefire and negotiation conditions, part 1. The enemy has suffered an undeniable, historic, and crushing defeat in its cowardly, illegal, and criminal war against the Iranian nation. Thanks to the pure and innocent blood of the martyred leader of the Islamic Revolution, His Highness Ayatollah Sayyid Imam Khamenei, may God bless him and grant him peace, the measures of the supreme leader of the Islamic Revolution and supreme commander of the armed forces, His Highness Ayatollah Sayyid Mujtaba Khamenei, may God protect him. Yeah. His son, right? Yeah. The struggle and bravery of the warriors of Islam on the fronts, and especially the historic, lasting, and epic presence of you, the dear nation, on the scene from the very first days of the war. Iran achieved a great victory and forced the criminal America to accept its 10-point plan, in which the United States is committed in principle to guaranteeing non-aggression, continuing Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, accepting enrichment, lifting all primary and secondary sanctions. That really is incredible. Terminating all resolutions of the Security Council and the Board of Governors, paying Iran compensation, withdrawing American combat forces from the region, and stopping the war on all fronts, including against the heroic Lebanese Islamic resistance. We congratulate all the people of Iran on this victory and emphasize that until the details of this victory are finalized, there is still a need for the perseverance and prudence on the part of the authorities and for maintaining the unity and solidarity of the Iranian people. Islamic Iran, together with the brave resistance fighters in Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, and occupied Palestine, has dealt blows to the enemy in the past 40 days that the historical memory of the world will never forget. Iran and the axis of resistance, as representatives of honor and humanity against the most savage enemies of humanity, have taught them an unforgettable lesson after a historic battle and have crushed their forces, facilities, infrastructures, and all their political, economic, technological, and military capital to such an extent that the enemy has now fallen into decay and despair and sees no other way than surrendering to the will of the great Iranian nation and the noble axis of resistance before it.
Woo!
Wow. This is kind of incredible, and I almost hope that Trump doesn't see this, because it's so humiliating.
I think he'll lose his
exactly.
fucking mind if he reads this.
Then they also,
but he doesn't read, so maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they thought Iran's missile. Let's see. They thought Iran's missile and drone fire would quickly die down, and they did not believe that Iran could give them such a powerful response beyond its borders and across the entire region. The evil global Zionism has convinced the ignorant American president that this war would finish Iran off, and that by eliminating this last bastion of humanity, they could now easily commit any crime against anyone they wanted. They dreamed of dividing dear Iran, plundering its oil and wealth, and ultimately leaving the Iranians in the midst of chaos, instability, and insecurity for many years to come. And we also have a statement. Nate, did you send this to Brad? Because if you don't send it to Brad, I can't, it won't get on the screen. But Arachi also has a statement on behalf of the Supreme National Security Council of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And this is a much shorter one. So
this is the foreign minister?
Yes. Yeah. I can also share it, Brad, if it's and Norman, this is such a great we have a great prompt for our discussion about Israel tricking America, or America and Israel having the same interests. So we can have a debate between you and the Security Council. Not the Security Council, the what is it, Supreme Council. But they won't be here. But I can play their part. I can just read what they're saying. It'll be a very dynamic debate. Okay, let's see. All right. Here we go. Thank you so much, Brad. Okay. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude. This is their foreign minister of foreign affairs. Okay. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, he, Prime Minister of Pakistan Sharif, and he, Field Marshal Munir, for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region. In response to the brotherly request of Prime Minister Sharif in his tweet, and considering the request by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. Slightly different tone coming from the foreign minister versus the other statement. But Samira, before you leave, just want to ask you your response to that, and then Norman, of course, if you want to respond to that, and then we'll be talking about many things in more detail. But
I just keep thinking that Israel won't allow this. I mean, I don't think that Israel will stop bombing Iran. That's my worry. They have shown that they're just riding through the air, all across the skies, and they just keep bombing dozens and dozens of sites every single night. My friends, who I've spoken with, they just freak out every night at around between 3 and 4 in the mornings when all of these bombs are going off. And I just don't see Israel allowing for this to take place.
Okay, well, last thing I'm going to show is a video actually of Israeli media that you sent to me, Samira.
Disgusting, yeah.
Yeah. This is them talking about the countdown clock. This is obviously
I wonder how they're feeling.
Oh, we don't have. Oh, crap. Sorry, I thought we had it with subtitles, but we don't.
No, it's not subtitled.
Yeah.
But they're quite giddy.
Yeah.
So yes. I wonder what they're going to do with that clock now.
Yeah. Very excited.
It just goes to show you that, I mean, Israeli media right now is so genocidal anyways, specifically Channel 13 and 14. But
yeah,
I think that they were really hoping that this would happen.
Right. Yeah, they definitely were excited about it.
The power plants, everything would be gone. So,
yeah. Well, Samira, thank you so much. Please do come back on the show. We'll have more to talk about. And everyone subscribe to Samira's channel. It's great. And again, CBC, not BBC.
Yeah. Don't subscribe to CBC, though.
No. Yeah, definitely subscribe to On the Line Media.
We have enough subscriptions.
Yes.
Have a great rest of the show.
Thanks for joining. All right, guys, if you haven't already, please like the stream. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and become Patreon supporters. And without any further ado, I think this man needs no introduction. Norman Finkelstein, author of several books, including The Holocaust Industry, and including Knowing Too Much, which I read parts of yesterday and today, which is a fascinating book.